Hello, my name is Áki Ásgeirsson. I'm here with the S.L.Á.T.U.R composer collective from Iceland, and we are going to talk a little bit now about animated notation and computer notation systems. We have been developing all kinds of tools and software and stuff for putting music onto the computer display to replace the paper and note stand notation. But it is nothing complicated to do, because the main element when it comes to notation is information, passing on information from a composer's mind into the mind of the audience, and then it normally has to go through a few different stages for that. It can go from the composer into the notes on the paper or on the screen or as instructions, and then often it goes from there to a conductor or in combination with a conductor and the paper score. It often is performed on the stage. But what we have been doing, we have been often having a video projector, so the musicians would watch the video projected on the wall, and then they follow certain information in the video that triggers the reaction. And this started out as being like aid for improvisation. So when you have a group of people that are already improvising and used to improvising together, a video score can influence the way that they interact and also bring in a certain structure to the music, like a beginning and end that is composed by the composer, and then the other things are improvised on the spot. Also, what we discovered also was that rhythmic details can be very precise when it comes to animated notation, and if the music score is very simple, simple graphic with kind of clear colors, maybe dots that are moving around, and each time that they hit a wall or cross a line, then a performer should play. Then you can very easily create rhythms that are septuplets within quintuplets, and everyone can play it, even without rehearsals. Though the goal is not to kind of leave out rehearsals, these scores need to be rehearsed, but certain things become easy and other things become difficult. And normally there are two things to the score. The score consists of moving images on the screen, and then it also consists of verbal instructions. So working with performers for a certain, that's a part of rehearsing the piece, is just to know how it should be played and what symbols on the screen represent what kind of sounds. And sometimes it is more about the sounds or more about the rhythms, and sometimes it is closer to what we can call tablature, or the way or a movement that a performer should do without necessarily thinking about the sound. So basically something like move now, and then the result is the sound or the music. Many different composers have done a lot of different things, sometimes using simple software like or just like a phone, like a video camera phone, or some kind of slideshow, PowerPoint, text-based things, internet, like browser-based things, or as we have often also done, to use software like Max or Pure Data, or processing for video coding, to create videos that are sometimes interactive, and sometimes the music is like scrolling over the screen. Sometimes it is some graphical objects that move around, or sometimes it is based on known objects that can either be very still or moving, or relate to something that resembles more like visual art or visualization of the music.
Yeah, while working with animated notation, you start to take care of or think a lot more about the information that you need to project in the score. You don't take anything for granted. Sometimes you want to overload information, and sometimes you just want to have the kind of bare-boned information needed. And this has always been happening in music, like the development of the notation. It doesn't arrive all together at one point. I remember that some sharp notes and flat notes weren't there in the original Guido d'Arezzo notation stuff, and crescendos and diminuendos. That's kind of gets added later on to the performance, and so you're interacting with performance and performance practice, and it's actually like the whole. It opens up a lot more space to work with. While you kind of strip down what you're working with. You're working with information. How do you mediate it, and what do you want out of it?
So a lot of the pieces have scores that are sort of made specifically for that one piece. So it's like good to understand that we're not trying to create like a generic animated notation system, like the traditional staff notation system is generic. We're often creating scores that are very specific for this particular piece, and oftentimes have like maybe a visual identity also that becomes very much intricate with that particular piece. It could be visuals, it could be other forms of active notation, for instance using lights controlled by a computer to give the musicians cues to play, or it could be different kind of other kind of non-graphical ways of transmitting information to musicians. So often, as Þráinn said here, it also means stripping down the information in the score, not making a complete system of notation, but only representing graphical or visual cues or tactical cues that is necessary for the particular piece to work.
I think it when we talk about it, it sounds a bit complicated, but actually animated notation is very simple, and the best way to describe it is to see it in action. And if we show some examples, then for example, munnur and nef is is a piece that uses the pictures and videos of the mouth and nose area of a person, describing kind of or moving in a way that the mouth should be when the performer is singing, instead of directly saying what the result would be, but then showing how it should look. And then the role of the performer is to generate that sound. Flöskunaki, for example, uses a very abstract triangular shapes that move in the same rhythm as the performer moves his hands, and then then pulling strings that are tied to empty plastic bottles on the floor, creating a soundscape filling the room with the sound of rattling bottles on the floor. And then I should mention a piece by Charles Ross, who had a long scroll of paper on the floor, and then the performers, and this was a kind of real-time interactive notation where he would not use a computer but just a pen and a huge scroll of paper. So he would write the piece just before the musicians would play it. If the performers got too close to the composer, he would write in a short bar asking them to repeat it 10 times just to win some time. Another piece by him is also very lo-fi, non-computerized, where he had a sandbox, shells and seaweed and stones, and then each one of them had its own detailed instructions on how to play whatever he was doing in the sandbox. So these kind of notation systems don't have to necessarily be a part of a computer system. It can also be the same ideas can be transferred to just transmitting information or reading music out of things that you see, like visual things that are either pre-recorded or taking place in the space that you are in. We are going to perform one piece for you now, and this is called Square Music by Hlynur Aðils Vilmarsson, and this piece uses 4 instruments, 4 people playing 4 instruments, and each one has a different color, and then the video score is not necessarily linear, moving from left to right, but each of the musicians follow their own color, and when it hits a corner, then you play just a single pitch. So the piece is very rhythmical. It does not have to do with harmony or melody, but well, that even though that could be a result somehow. It's mostly a rhythmical piece, square music, and includes also some sounds from a toy synthesizer, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the visuals has its own voice in the piece. It's kind of yeah, makes another narrative on top of the music itself.